What is up, everybody, and welcome in to the third Line Jawn Flyers postgame show. A comeback win for the Philadelphia Flyers tonight as they beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 5-4. Alongside Joey Marks, I am James Scorza here. Joey, it looked to me the Flyers were going to be lost in the sauce, but somehow in some way they found a way to get to finally get a good win here tonight in South Philadelphia to close out 2024.
Well, they send Elvis home to Columbus with a blue Christmas, and I'm all for that. Tip your bartenders and waitresses because Owen Tippett's on a hot streak.
Absolutely, and also there's a lot of players that came out tonight that were on a hot seat as well. Not on a hot seat, but they look like they were on the hot seat early on. But a very good win, like I mentioned. The Flyers come back after basically all game looked like they were trailing all this game, and I feel like the one thing that really shocked me more than anything was that if you couldn't beat Columbus, like who else you couldn't beat? I mean,
Right.
this was a little bit too close to comfort a little bit, but I'll take it though. 2 points is all that matters. The Flyers get a good 2 points out of it. So let's get into that first period, Joe. So the first period wasn't the very not necessarily one of the best Flyers first periods. I kind of like it got away from them.
Yeah.
Like the first goal of the game was a little bit fluky at first, but I guess this first period was kind of a weird circumstance. Like it's because in the first period, usually half the time they look very well in first periods, and not in years past, but in the last couple of years they have looked pretty well. But this just looked like they wasn't a good first period for them.
This kind of goes back into the last couple games of some of their struggles, the
Mm-hmm.
turnovers and the sloppy play, and Jamie Drysdale kind of turned the puck over, and it was kind of off to the races. And when you make mistakes at the blue line, usually it doesn't end up well on the other side of the net for your team. And
Mm-hmm.
so the Flyers found themselves down 1-0 really quickly.
Way too close to comfort indeed, and also sloppy play was something that I could take out of that first period. So, I mean, the first period was actually the one thing I was really annoyed about how they looked was that the Flyers like kept on trying to get opportunities and good opportunities, but it just felt like like you even brought up Elvis Merzlikins was just like he just looked unstoppable in that first period.
Yeah, it seemed like between him and Harrison, that this was either going to be a very low scoring game, and even though the numbers on the sports books had the total over under for goals in the game at 5.5, and after the first period, or during that first period, you kind of started to see a little bit about how the goaltending was going to hold up on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing I take out of it too, because like I mean, that first period could have been an easier first period, like we always talked about here. But it just felt like I said, it just felt like they could not get that going. I mean, it was just like the last couple games, they felt like they started slow, and then they started to move their way up like in the second. Like in the second, I mean, before the second period was their woes, but now it feels like having first period woes now. Gonna admit, Joe.
As a former hockey coach of mine used to say, it's skates in sand.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're kind of trying to dig your way out, and you just keep getting deeper and deeper into the sand. You're not moving, you're just digging yourself deeper and deeper. And it felt like the Flyers in early on, they tried to have those opportunities, but it felt like Columbus had a lot more attacking time than the Flyers did in the first period.
Yeah, no question. I do agree with that 100%. Let's go. There was only one goal in that first period, right? Was there two of them?
No, I think it was only one, and then I
Okay.
think the second one was in the second period.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. That's right.
with
Yeah.
the bad
So
turnover, not bad turnover, but bad communication play by Harrison and Drysdale once again.
yeah.
Here's the thing: is when you go and you retrieve the puck as a goaltender, whether it's behind your net or towards the side, when you're vulnerable. And so you have to, as a defender, be able to vocalize where you are, what you're doing, and what the plan is. And Jamie, I don't think he did that. I mean, even Bush kind of mentioned it on the commentary, is that it didn't seem like Jamie made his intentions known to Harrison, what he was doing in that play. And Kind of what caused a really easy layup kind of goal for the second goal for the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight.
Yeah, I do agree with that too. I mean, that's the other thing that really shocks me a little bit, that Jamie Drysdale is starting to struggle like a little bit like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I'm worried about it. I'm not worried that he's gonna like become like a real like cause for concern. But I mean, those two goals were very fluky though, no question about it.
Yeah.
And so let's get in closer. Actually, this happened early, actually later on in the second stanza. Flores tried to get on the board, and believe it or not, I did not know who was Emil Andre was. Like obviously, Emil Andre got sent down to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms before the game, and they brought back a guy that actually is tearing it up in the minors, and Ala Lexell, to give the Flyers a 2-1 lead, but somehow in some way it looked like it was offside and it did not count, but it kind of looked like that was going to be what kind of a night it was going to be for the Flyers, going to admit.
Yeah, this guy's been tearing it up in the Phantoms, and they just tried to ride the hot hand and try to, pitch a position into like a spot starter kind of thing into the Flyers lineup. And, I was hoping for it, but I mean, even Boucher said on the commentary, it looked very clear.
Yeah, it looked too clear.
The offside, so it was kind of an easy reversal. But that kid was attacking all night. So
he was.
My feeling is that he's going to
break the camel's back at one point.
Yeah, he's gonna break that break the ice and get through.
Absolutely.
At some point.
Yeah, and I guess the Flyers, I guess they try to get one more. They try to get one back, and I think they did with. Well, I know Noah Cates got credit for one of the goals. Was that in the second or third, actually?
Third period. We went into the third period down 2-0.
Okay.
And in the third period, everything exploded. I mean, if you went and turned the Flyers off prior to the third period, you missed out on a lot, because that third period ignited 6 goals in the third period alone between the two teams. So it was a lot of excitement, and Noah Cates started us off.
Yeah, Noah Cates did start it off, and I think that like the one thing I was really intrigued about with Noah Cates too was that he's the last couple games has been a real good scene for him too, and he's like even like our buddy Pat Bernard behind the glass says like Noah Cates is for sure is red hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a guy who a couple of games ago I said to you on another post-game show that I felt like Noah Cates was getting close to getting through to the other side and starting to heat up. And, for him, I saw last year potential. And, he learned a lot. And I think now you're starting to see some of the progression of that offensive talent that's shining through. And I also noticed that, they paired him with Michkov. And you got to understand that this is a smart play, because Michkov, we could sit here and say Michkov is a great player because of the goals he could score or the assists he makes. But he's also a good player because he raises the level of all the other players around him, whether he gets switched to another line with Cates or TK or Owen Tippett or Frost or whatever. Forrester, he raises the level of whoever his line mate is at that point. You can move Michkov around, which makes him very, very valuable, because it's not as though you're moving him around so he has to score. You're moving him around so he can help other people be able to score.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, my dad brought up a very good point here. Says the Flyers scored 4 in the third, but would not go away, and that was basically that whole third period, gonna admit. Yeah. So Columbus will get another goal here, and this one was kind of fluky once again. Obviously, it kind of looked like a shot that saw eyes. I think it was like Ivan Provorov tried to get credit for it, or somehow in some way it was Marchenko that was right there for the rebound. And believe it or not, I was going to say this is going to be probably an Ivan Provorov get right game for the Flyers after getting traded from. And I was like saying, please don't score on us, but somehow in some way he gets credit for the third goal of the game to make it 3-1 in favor of the Blue Jackets.
Here's the thing: the hardest thing to read when you're a goaltender nowadays or anytime is the deflections, whether they come off a blade of of a hockey stick, or whether they come off padding off a player or whatever. When that deflection happens, it changes the complete trajectory of that puck. You could have eyes on where that puck is going once initially shot. Once it hits off of something else, it could go any angle, and you don't always know how to react in its second. I mean, we're talking about a second, a millisecond of like how that thing redirects. So, for the most part, Columbus felt like they were kind of taking advantage of that traffic in front with Emerson. So that may be something that the Flyers need to clean up going forward, is cleaning up the front of the net.
Well, since you brought up basically there was a couple goals that the Flyers scored tonight were like open net goals. There was one of them that cut the lead to 1. It was Morgan Frost who got credit for the second goal of the game, and rightfully so. He made it a 3-2 game, and right there we were right back in it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Morgan Frost, it's ironic because Morgan Frost was a guy who I said, like, in my head, I didn't say it out loud because I still believe in jinxing a player by speaking it into existence,
Yeah.
is that, I thought about it in my head, like, man, I hope
Right.
Frost has a good game. Like,
Right.
I want to see him get off the schneid. And then he scored the second goal, and I'm like, wait, okay, here we go. I'm like, all right, I can dig this. And, once again, Owen Tippett on an assist with Morgan Frost. And like you said, Frost with that open netter, that has a lot more to do with Owen Tippett causing more attention towards him because of the heater he's been on. So when you draw that attention, you leave your teammates open and you leave big holes in that net. And Morgan Frost was able to take advantage of that tonight.
It was kind of like, believe it or not, since we're talking about the Blue Jackets, it was kind of like what James Van Riemsdyk used to do back in the day with those slam dunk goals. Like
Yeah.
somehow in some way they found ways to put the puck in the net. Speaking of Columbus, they tried to make it more feasible for the Flyers to come back, and they did so. And there was a goal that I believe one of the defensemen, Stevenson, after the goal, he gave the Flyers bench, an impactful stare to give the Columbus Blue Jackets a 4-2 lead, and we all thought it was over right then and there.
Yeah, here's the thing: is didn't the Flyers tied 3-3? Then
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, that's right.
Yeah.
The Flyers did tie it up at 3-3 apiece.
And
I think that was Frost again, was it?
It was either Frost again or yes, it was Frost again.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he had a pair of
fifth
goals.
goal.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Pat, for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is what the whole. I want to go back to what you were talking about with the Stevenson guy.
Yeah.
So he scores the goal. You go up by a goal. You're the Columbus Blue Jackets. You're in enemy territory.
Mhm.
It's not a game out of hand. You're gonna go and stare down the Flyers bench. Good luck with that, buddy.
Right.
It irritates me that these guys that think they have the big cojones can come into our building and think they can run roughshod and bully us around. Like, do you not know where you are? Know your role, buddy. Know where you are. Know your surroundings.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what, unfortunately, set
Came
the
back and bit 'em.
spark in motion for the Flyers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you perfectly said it best, Joe. I mean, the one thing I took out of that too was like usually when you give an impactful stare to a bench, it's like, somehow in some way it's going to come back and hurt you the most. I mean, it's not like Bryce Harper did a couple years ago against Arcia, but Arcia started it and Harper retaliated. So it's not like Harper started it. So anyways, so the Flyers once again tied it up at 4 apiece. This one was around approaching the 1 minute mark, and the Flyers break the ice and also equalize the game and tying the score up at 4 apiece.
Yeah, this was another one by Forrester, and this is a big
Was
one.
it Tyson Forrester? I thought it was Tippett.
No. Tippett scored the game winner.
Oh, okay. It was Tyson Forrester. Okay, you got it.
Yeah. So Tyson Forrester scored the fourth goal, and here's the thing: is he needed it because in perspective, he's been kind of on a little bit of a dry spell, but he's a big piece to this too. The whole part of this that kind of goes is Forrester's the guy that we need to have as like a nice supporting cast member. It's
Hmm.
the same thing that I said a couple of weeks ago with Noah Cates. It's the same thing I've been saying about Morgan Frost. It's the same thing I've been saying about with a lot of the different guys on the team. And this is where someone like him can raise and equal out the levels that a guy like Owen Tippett and a guy like Mitchkoff and a guy like Travis Konechny and a guy like Couturier, like those guys are the captains, are the leaders in this team. You
Right.
need that supporting cast, and Forrester's a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tyson Forster's been on a tear lately. I mean, going back to that Kings game, so he has his 9th goal in the year. That's a
Mhm.
very good sign, and I think that's really good to see. So even my dad brought up in the game about that Stevenson film. I said, Boosh said it on the broadcast that he stared down the team and he hadn't scored a goal in like since 2022. So it's like a long 3 years, and I'm thinking like, okay, dude, like you scored your first goal, now you want to be a wise guy. I mean, come on, dude, stop.
Well, I
Grow
mean,
up.
it kind of goes back to what you were saying about the Harper Arcia thing, because
Yes.
who's Arcia? I mean, like really, like
Right.
who are you?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
if that's Ronald Acuna Jr., okay, I can understand it. Like
Or
Son
like
or
the other guy, the one that or
the
I forget his name. Oh yeah, Arcia. That's right. I'm sorry.
yeah, but if it was like Olsen or Azuna, I could or Acuna. I mean, I could
Acuna. Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
But Arcia, I'm like, okay, dude, you're nobody. Just
Yeah.
like this guy, he's nobody. I'm like, okay, you scored a goal for the first time in 2 years.
2.5 years. Right.
Good for you. Have a piece of cake tonight.
Yeah. Well, I made Christmas cookies too, so I mean,
Yeah.
he could probably have a big old cookie in this locker room. Anyways, so the Flyers will go into overtime for maybe the last few times the Flyers got into overtime, and free extra hockey is the perfect way to describe it. And it looked to me that 3-on-3 was like back and forth until the goal that's scored by Owen Tippett finally breaking the ice and giving the Flyers the 5-4 victory on the last game of the 2024 home slate here at Wells Fargo Center. And it's good to know the Flyers got the 2 points out of it here tonight in South Philly, Joe.
Here's the thing that the part of that overtime, and you and I both were reacting to it and watching it together, kind of.
Yep,
And so the thing that we both were reacting was there were some missed opportunities by the Flyers.
it was.
But here's the thing: in the end of it all, that there's the guy that kind of comes out, and the cream always rises to the top. And
Hmm.
Owen Tippett rose to that top, and I mean, this guy is on a heater.
Yep.
And we can all sit here and talk about Mitchkoff because he's the face and the name and whatnot, but Owen Tippett is making his presence known, and I'm not going to be too surprised if during this road trip that Owen Tippett doesn't continue to do what he's doing currently. I mean, this guy's I could see this guy going on another 10 game 5 to 8 point bender. I really do, because I really do think that this guy is finding his groove.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that that's a good point here by Owen Tippett too, who has 11 goals. Has 11 goals right now on the season and 10 assists. So it's good to know he's really tearing it up. And I think this is going to be a good tall task for him, especially having a ton of road trips, having a ton of road time, a road trip along the way. And it'll be good to know he'll be like really stepping it up once again, especially right after the holiday break, obviously. So the Flyers tonight rather are like, if you can look it up, Pat, one more time with that conference and see what the conference standings is. I think the Flyers are 15, and I think you said 15, and they're 500 at best, but they're the 10th seed right now. So right now they're on the out. There we go. They're on the outside looking in, but right now, I mean, the one thing I'm really glad to see too is that even though if the Flyers like continue the battle, I mean, they make a team very uncomfortable, and I think tonight was a really good challenge of that.
The one thing that we can both say confidently and comfortably is that
Hmm.
despite the little slides that they go on with these losing slides, they don't get too deep into a funk. They
Right.
don't get too deep into a 5 to 10 game losing streak. I mean, me and Pat have had conversations before. You get your hopes up about the Flyers, and then all of a sudden they go on a 10-game losing streak, and you're like, your heart just sinks. And
Right.
I haven't seen that this year, and that's a bit of a bright, refreshing perspective. And I honestly think, look, if they play 500 hockey, is that going to be good enough to get into the playoffs? Who knows? But what I do know is, are they possibly on the precipice of breaking through to being better than a 500 team?
Yeah.
Yeah, they could, because they're young, they're talented, and they're just finding their groove.
Yeah, no question about it, Joe. So basically, the Flyers, like I said, win tonight by a final score of 5-4 over the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they now are officially off the road trip, are officially on to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on not Saturday, on Monday rather, and that will close out the holiday break, and they'll be off until Saturday afternoon, I think, to take on the Anaheim Ducks in Anaheim. So for me, I expect more of the same against Pittsburgh on Monday night as they take on a struggling Penguins team that hasn't looked effective. Obviously, they look like they're old, and like they look like either Crosby's looking old or Malkin's not looking the same. But
this is a Pittsburgh team that's starting to look like when Lemieux and Yager
got older.
Were towards the end and a little long in the tooth.
Right.
And they were just trying to figure out, okay, who's the next stepping stone?
Yeah.
And I think that's who they're trying to figure out. Who's going to be the torchbearer after Crosby?
Right, absolutely. And let's before we go any further, we'll double check the around the NHL here on this.
Well, before we do, why don't we give up our MVP and our grades for the game?
Sure, absolutely. That will be a very good opportunity to do that right now. So who's your MVP, and first we'll talk about our MVP. Who would you give this MVP to tonight?
I got to say, it's the guy I kind of wish for him to have a good game, and that's Morgan Frost. I mean, 2 goals, that's huge. And I mean, that's a guy that I have expected big things from him and have yet to see that quite yet. So I'm waiting for him to kind of show me that all-star mentality. And I got a bit of that tonight, and I'm very satisfied with his play tonight.
I gotta go with Noah Cates too, and that's a very good point by you, Joe. I gotta go with Noah Cates tonight because he's just been like the goals he's been scoring has been really been phenomenal. And Tyson Forster's been having a real good season as well. But seeing Noah Cates come out of his shell a little bit was like a little bit of a boost tonight for the Orange and Black here tonight against a very 500 team like Columbus again this win tonight, especially on a nostalgic night for the Johnny Gaudreau family as well.
Yeah, got 2 points, a goal, and an assist. So Noah Cates is still on a pretty good tear. What would you grade the Flyers on tonight? Like, what would be your grade for tonight's game?
You know what? I gotta go with a B. I gotta go with I think tonight was a B plus effort for the Flyers tonight. Not A, because they look pretty shaky in that first and second period, but that third period is like when they find like, okay, I like the one thing I like about this team a lot is that, like, sure, they're like when they're down, they never feel like they're out of it. You know, they always feel like they always have a good opportunity to make big plays happen. So for me, I got to go with a B plus tonight on such a good effort. Like to the end of the game was even more powerful. It was even more better for them, especially against Columbus. And I think that's going to translate into the next game as well.
So I got to also go with a B plus, and here's why. Because I feel like, and much like what you said, the Flyers were down 2-0 going into the third period, and it didn't look very good because the play didn't look very sharp in the first 2 periods. So there wasn't a lot of potential to think that they were going to turn it around in the third period, but they did. And I have to give them a lot of credit for that, because leading into the third period, I would have given them a C. But they jumped up to a B and then even a B plus in overtime because they kept fighting. They kept fighting. Now, look, everyone could sit there and say it's Columbus. It's not,
you play the teams out there on your schedule. You know what I mean?
Right. And listen, you could say what you want, but in that National Hockey League, sometimes the ice can tilt in the way against you, even if you're the more talented team. That just can be the way it goes.
Yeah, I do agree, Joe. And I think that's
tonight for 2 periods, it felt like the ice was tilted towards the Blue Jackets, but in the third and overtime, it felt like it really tilted towards the Flyers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree with that 100%. And that's the one thing I took out of this game tonight. All right, let's go and check out our quick around the National Hockey League on this very important Saturday night of before the holiday break as we check out the scores. Right now, actually, this was actually earlier, rather. Nashville winning over LA 3-2. San Jose taking on Edmonton. That was a 3-2 final over in Edmonton. Blackhawks and Flames 6-4 Calgary over Chicago. Islanders over the Maple Leafs. I think they lost Austin Matthews in this game tonight as well. I don't know how the circumstances is. So, I mean, I don't know how significant the injury is, but I'll definitely keep you posted on that as the Flyers will take on Toronto in the next week or so around January or so. So it's probably around right after New Year's Day and stuff. So that's a good. I think that's the first home game to begin the 2025 home slate for the Flyers.
Yeah.
So like I said, the Flyers win tonight 5-4 over Columbus. Montreal beating Detroit 5-1. New Jersey shutting out the Penguins 3-0. So that's going to be a good challenge for the Flyers on Monday night to take on when the Penguins come in, when they take on the Penguins. So it will be like easier said than done for them. Boston winning again, and the Sabres keep on losing, Joe. 12 straight losses for the Sabres. That's a little bit concerning, but you know what? I mean, that's a little. I mean, if you can bring me a little bit of a Dylan Cousins in that trade deadline, I will be happy about that because I know I like my or Tage Thompson. I'll be good with that too as well.
Bring Cousins back to the prospects that he was, because I believe he was drafted by the Flyers.
Yeah, well, actually, it was the Dylan Cousins with the Phillies, but they have the same name, believe it or not.
Oh. Okay,
but it'll be nice to know we have a Dylan Cousins with the Flyers that actually is effective, except the one that was not with the Phillies. But anyways, so the Minnesota Wild taking on Winnipeg 5-0. Winnipeg over Minnesota. Seattle 1-0 right now over Vegas. That's in the first period, and Vancouver has a 1-0 lead over. The Senators have a 1-0 lead over Vancouver. And tomorrow afternoon of hockey. There's a lot of games on this slate. It's probably the last couple games before their holiday break. Rangers taking on the Hurricanes. Kings take on the Caps. Panthers take on Tampa Bay. Anaheim and Utah. Senators taking on the Oilers. And the Kraken take on the Avs in that Sunday afternoon slate. So if we win the NFC East tomorrow, I'll be watching some good hockey games along the way as well. 2 for the price of 1.
1 o'clock game for the Eagles, so yeah, absolutely. Go take some puck after we take care of the Commanders.
Yeah, I don't know if the Sixers play tomorrow either. That's why they had the back-to-back tonight. I keep on getting confused with these back-to-back sometimes.
We're not too worried about that. It's not Christmas.
Nah, I don't think so either. All right, that is gonna wrap it up here for tonight. I want to thank again Joey Marks once again for coming on once again. We always do Pass and F Sports Show every single Saturday on the Hardcore Sports Network. So check us out if you haven't checked us out yet. We had a show today with the Dom himself, Mitch Kovsky, doing everything he can. And I can tell you right now, he probably was happy about that Flyers performance like we were tonight. We will be back again, hopefully on Monday when the Flyers take on the Pens. And that will be, right after that, it will be the holiday break for everybody else. So until then, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it. And for everyone behind the scenes, including Pat Bernard behind the glass now, for Joey Marks, and for everybody else here, have a great holiday, everybody. This has been the Hockey Night on Broadfly. The Third Line Jawn Postgame show. I know I was going to screw that up.
James does so many shows, he gets them mixed up, folks.
It's the Third Line Jawn Flyers Postgame show. I'm James Scorza here. Please forgive me. I've been up since 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to sleep. We're out of here. Bye.